SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ Stongo, Gary 5 Jaho Jifkidos, Mvskoke Radio, Mabo Hedgewedge. Welcome to our program here from a scorchingly hot Okmulgee, downtown Okmulgee. We hope that you all are surviving this incredible weather and taking precautions to protect yourself. We don't want anybody to have to suffer any more than they have to deal with this weather. Okay, well, we had plans for a couple of different things. Now, I've said this before, but sometimes those plans change, and unfortunately, at the last minute. We had planned to talk with people from our language program today, and then hear a feature from Jared Moore and his live wire on grants from National Endowment for the Humanities. Unfortunately, the language folks were slammed and couldn't make it, so we have to come up with something else. So we'll be hearing another piece from Jared Moore, his live wire, and this is on Keepers of the Land. So we want to thank him for saving our bacon a couple times here and providing us with material that we felt was really worth sharing. Now, the reason I mention this is the third time we've had a situation where we had last-minute cancellations, and believe me, it puts some heavy-duty stress on yours truly. So, if you're going to commit to the show, then you gotta show up. So please take that as a friendly suggestion. Let's get on with things here. First of all, we have the NEH grants piece from Livewire. We want to thank Jared for helping us out there.
All right, welcome back, guys, to another edition of Livewire. And on today's program, we're going to be speaking with Jason Paquino. He is the Strategic Advisor for Native and Indigenous Affairs with the National Endowment for the Humanities. We're going to be talking tonight about some grants that are the National Endowment for the Humanities has partnered up with the Department of Interior for funding projects related to the Indian Boarding School Initiative. So with that being said, Mr. Paquino, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you saying my last name correctly.
Well,
doesn't happen too often.
Along those lines too, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your native heritage, because there's a lot there in your parentheses, and I didn't want to mess any of that up. So if you could give us an idea about your native background there, sir.
Sure, no problem. So, Dashkaja Hani Nidosh, Mihamma Keshish. Greetings to all of you. My name is Jason Paquino. I'm the Strategic Advisor for Native and Indigenous Affairs for the National Endowment for the Humanities. I am a citizen of the Mandan Hidatsa Arikara Nation, MHA Nation up in Fort Berthold, North Dakota, and that's through my father's side. On my mother's side, I'm also from the pueblos of Jemez and the pueblo of Laguna in New Mexico. So what you were referring to was, in all my email signatures, it says Mandan, Hidatsa, Arikara, Jemez, Laguna, and it's a mouthful, but it's something that, for me is very important to recognize, because I grew up very close to both sides of my family. I lived with my aunts and uncles in Laguna and Jemez. Lived with my grandparents out in Laguna and Mesita, and later on in life, I lived with my grandparents in Twin Buttes, North Dakota. So for me, I'm very much connected to all of those communities, and so for me, it's very important to recognize all of them. I know I can just say which tribe I'm enrolled in, but for me, I really was fully brought up amongst all those communities.
Absolutely, and that's something that on our show we have to respect because the audience will get mad if we don't. So it's down here. We always tell you the clan, your clan, and your ceremonial grounds and everything is like and who your relatives are is the first thing you should always mention. So, with that being said, what are the grants? Who are they for? And if you could just touch on a little bit of what are the objective with these grants from the perspective of the National Endowment for the Humanities?
Sure. These are special grants. So they fall a little bit outside of our normal grant funding system because they come at the chair's request. So the chair of the National Endowment for the Humanities is Shelley Lowe. She's Navajo from Ganado, Arizona. And in her time as chair of the National Endowment for the Humanities, she's had a chance to meet with Secretary Holland and the Department of the Interior, attend some of the Road to Healing tour stops to listen to the accounts of survivors and their descendants. And because of that, she really felt that there was an opportunity to directly fund tribal communities that would be in support of the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative. And so what she sort of tasked me with doing is to create these special chairs grants. And so the chairs grants are for $30,000 per application, and they are intended for communities to address any humanities-related topic related to the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative. So it could be simple oral history projects. It could be culture and language projects, because a lot of what the Indian boarding school system did was remove or strip students of their culture and their language. So in some ways, it's a way to repair that.
Right.
It could also go towards museums and exhibition work to help document some of those experiences from survivors or their descendants. It's broad enough that it could even go towards working with individuals or tribes who might want to start planning repatriation efforts. So how do we bring back items or individuals who might still be at Indian boarding school sites? So it's very wide and expansive. It's essentially anything that's humanities related.
Okay.
And humanities is sometimes not always an easy term to grapple with. Since I've joined the agency back in February, when I tell people I work for the National Endowment for the Humanities, the first question is, "What's that?"
Right.
and so the easiest way and that's our job. Our job is to support and highlight the humanities. And so for me, when I tell people what I do, I say, what I do is.
Oh, we froze up there, guys. Let's see if it comes back.
Did we lose?
Yeah, you froze up for just a second. You were telling me what you do at the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So what our job is at the agency is to really promote and support culture and knowledge. How do we make meaning of our lives? How do we make meaning of our culture? How do we make meaning of our knowledge? And not just from a historical sense. I mean, history is a big part of the humanities work, but how do we make meaning for it in the sense that it will help inform us in the things that we're going to do in the future as well.
I see.
So passing down culture is very important. Passing down knowledge is very important. So those are the types of things that we really want to help support and fund. And so that's what the humanities is. So if any project related to the Indian Boarding School Initiative is going to help highlight the stories of the experiences of survivors and their descendants, or is going to help create meaning or help even just uplift those stories or uplift the boarding school experience in general, those are the types of things we want to fund, because Chair Lowe has really wanted communities to feel like they have a resource to tap into when it comes to federal funding. And so that's essentially what the special funding opportunity is all about.
Okay. And now for these grants, the funding opportunity, I know in the verbiage of the the announcement. And you guys, I want to remind the audience, if you guys have a question, pop it into the chat and we'll ask it. Also, there's a link to the announcement for these grants in the description of this video. In there, it kind of mentions tribal governments or organizations working with Native communities. Can individuals apply for these grants, or is it only like 501Cs? Like, what are the guide rails there on that?
Yeah, so you need to be a 501c3.
Okay.
So if you are an individual who has a 501c3 set up, then you are able to put forth an application. We will accept applications from federally recognized tribes. And at this point in time, we are not accepting applications from state recognized tribes. And that's something that we're working to address.
Okay.
And so that's something that maybe in a future funding opportunity, we'll be able to kind of navigate. But we're also asking that if you are a non-tribal entity, that you have a letter of support from a tribal community.
Okay.
So if this is perhaps maybe like a school system that maybe wants to create curriculum, we would ask then that application come in with a letter of support from tribes that were specifically, impacted by boarding schools. And that's really important to us. We have a code of ethics at our agency on how organizations should work with tribes. We don't want this to be funding that doesn't reach people on the ground. We really, really do want it to be meaningful. We want it we want tribal communities to really feel like this is a resource for them. So that's why it's really important for us to see that. So when we get these applications, those will be part of the process for us to sort of scrutinize and figure out, what's a meaningful fundable project for us. And we really do want to see those type of things in the application. Because I'm sure there are some organizations that could put forth a great application, but if they're not involving tribal communities and we can't see that throughout the application, then it means that it's outside of the scope of what we want to do in terms of impact. And I would say that probably the other two things that we want to highlight or that we highlighted in the announcement is that we really want to highlight any work that's going to involve elders, because that's an aging population. Their experiences, unfortunately, cannot be captured once they pass away. So it's really important that for us that we kind of highlighted that. So working with tribal elders is very important to us, and also working any projects that would work with tribal youth. So I think it's important for us not only to reach that population who might be aging out, but it's also important for us to make sure that knowledge gets passed on to the next generation so that they understand what was the boarding school experience. What was it all about? How can we make meaning of it? How can we kind of move forward together with this sort of knowledge that for so many years has either been hidden, not talked about, or in some ways has been erased.
Yeah. With these grants, are the projects that you guys are looking at projects that have already been started, and this would be supplemental funding, or is it possible if somebody hasn't done any work on their project to propose this and get the grant and then do the project? Is there any guidelines on that?
It could be both.
Okay.
So this could help support the continuation, or maybe probably more appropriately, the expansion of a project that has already been done. I've talked to a number of individuals who said, "Oh, we did an oral history project, but we didn't have enough funds to travel out to communities, to go out to elders to record their story." This would be a perfect opportunity for you to apply to funding so that you could pay for perhaps the travel to go out into communities to record stories. So anything that might be shovel ready, those are things that we will definitely take in. And then we're also looking for projects that have just been percolating inside somebody's head and said, you know what, we just needed some amount of money to get this started. And so so both types of projects are definitely on the board. Projects that are brand new and projects that have already seen some sort of life, but just needs a little bit more funding to either expand its scope or its reach.
I see. And so each of the grants is $30,000. Is there a maximum? Like, what's the maximum number of grants or maximum amount of money that this project is going to entail?
Yeah. So each grant can be each award can be up to $30,000. So if you just have a $15,000 project, that's totally fine as well.
Okay.
$30,000 is the ceiling for these projects. Um, at this moment, we're hoping to fund at least 10 projects. The deadline is December 1st, which I don't think I've said quite yet. So it's December 1st to submit your application. If we can get 10 projects funded, that would be awesome. And I think the other thing too to probably make note of is that if this is your first time submitting an application, especially to a federal agency like NEH, you can submit a draft of your proposal by October 1st, and we will review it for you and give you feedback and tell you how your proposal could be stronger, or what are some of the things that you can definitely work on to make it the best application that it can be. So I think that's also very important is getting that feedback
Yeah, absolutely.
from agency staff members who see this sort of thing all the time. And we really do hope that people who have never applied really do take into consideration of putting forth something, because that is just one thing that we can do to sort of help support those people who might be applying to the NEH for the very first time.
Yeah, and it kind of touches on my next question, which would be, let's say somebody applies for these grants, they get awarded a grant. How much support from the NEH is going to be there? Is there going to be like somebody they can call, say, hey, how do I report this expenditure or something like that? Like, is there going to be support on the back end from the NEH?
Yeah, every grant that gets funded and awarded through the agency is assigned to a staff member, and that staff member is specifically there to answer questions about any reports that need to be submitted, or any changes that might need to be made to the plan. That personnel support is definitely there on the back end.
Awesome. So I'm going to do a quick rundown for you guys watching. So you need to be a tribal governmental organization, a 501c. If you're a non-native group or 501c, you need to get a letter of recommendation from a native community, and you need to, let's see, the deadline is December 19th, is that?
December 1st.
December 1st. So you need to have your application in before December 1st. So is there anything that I missed there on that rundown?
And then if you want to submit a draft to be reviewed for feedback, that would be by October 1st.
Okay, so you need a draft for feedback. You need to get it in by October 1st. Is there anything related to this funding initiative that we haven't talked about that you think is important that we need to mention?
I think the most important thing is just to feel, for people to understand that they can definitely reach out to us as an agency for help and support. So if you email boarding school projects at NEH.gov, we can get back to you and help kind of answer any questions you might have about the funding opportunity. Answer even simple things about maybe I have 2 ideas, or maybe I have 3 ideas. What idea might seem to be the best way going forward. We're just looking to really put this money back into communities, and so we're all eager to make sure that we get enough people interested. I think in my line of work, sometimes I feel like people opt out and don't try for funding, because they just think, well, I don't have a chance, and I definitely want to make sure that people really see this as an attainable opportunity, that this is something that and that for whatever reasons they shouldn't self-opt out. They should definitely consider it, and we really want to make sure that we get this money into communities.
Awesome. So my next question is, let's say, and I'm just going to give an example, let's say somebody got it, was awarded a grant, and they did an oral history project. What happens to that project after it's completed? Is there requirements for it to be in the National Archives or anything like that? Like, how will it be incorporated into the boarding school initiative?
So the boarding school initiative has its own separate oral history project that they are set out to begin very soon. So that, yeah, and that's also, that's something that I'm also learning about too, because this is my first time being a federal employee as well. So you brought up a good question that, I'll be very, very honest. I don't have the answer right off the tip of
All
my tongue.
right. That happens to me a lot, so it's no
being
problem.
being new to being a federal employee for the last 6 to 7 months, I've realized I'm like, wow, there's a lot to bureaucracy, and that's definitely one of the questions that I can
Yes,
definitely
absolutely.
get back to anyone that they have a question on. But this is what the NEH does all the time, is like, who holds ownership of the materials produced by our projects, right?
Yes.
So we're always leaned towards tribes, communities. They should be the ones that hold this information. In our code of ethics, if anything is documented and the person giving the interview or person giving the research material doesn't consent, then it shouldn't be made public.
Right.
So
Right.
those are all really the type of things that we take seriously. But it's a good question that I will definitely write down and definitely have an answer
All
to.
right. All right. Well, and you guys can there is a link in the description of this video to the announcement of these grants. In that announcement, there's also an information email that you guys can email if there's a question that occurs to you later, or you want to get the answer on a question that we didn't have the answer to in this interview. You can always email that information email and find out the answer there. I want to remind you guys, you can post questions in the chat, but it looks like we're doing a good job because I don't see any questions in the chat popping up. We're at about 18 minutes, so I guess the next question for me would be, is there going to be a reporting of all these grants that's going to be made public after the fact? Like the deadline is in December, and then is there going to be somewhere that we are going to see like a list of what projects got funded through these grants and those things? Is that on the agenda?
Yeah, that does get reported out. All of these will have to go through our normal process. It goes to the chair. The chair signs off on what they approve or don't approve. If it does get approved, that's still not the end of the process line. It then goes before the National Endowment for the Humanities Council. And so the council members get to review the projects, and they get to scrutinize and ask questions about projects that are going to be funded. And then after all that, then the chair gets to go back and decide based on all the information that was passed on to her whether or not she'll go through with funding the opportunity. And then once that happens, then it does have to go into the public record, so people will know what projects are funding, where they're being funded, what the projects entail, what the scope of the project is, and also what the sort of performance period or when the project will actually take place. And that actually reminds me that we'll look for applications that will start January 1st, 2024. So if you're thinking about putting forth a project, you have time
Right.
to definitely, it's not something that, you need to get out the door tomorrow. But I should also add too, that December 1st is the deadline, but it's a rolling deadline. So if you do feel compelled to submit something, let's say end of August or early September, you are more than welcome to. But don't feel like you just have to wait all the way till December 1st.
Okay. Oh, well, we lost the connection there for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, here he's back.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem. It happens.
You're
Well,
weird.
I think we've covered all the bases. I do want to thank you so much for coming on the program tonight, and I hope you guys get all 10 of your projects funded and everything goes great on that front, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity, because there is a need for funding these types of researches and oral histories and community programs that the National Endowment for the Humanities could easily inject some funds into some projects that are out there right now. So
I want to thank Jared Moore once again for supplying us with that piece and the discussion on the grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Looks like there's some very interesting possibilities there. We're all going to take a short pause here, and then we're going to come back with more Livewire material from Jared Moore. This one will be called Keepers of the Land. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio.
Who am I? Am I native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am. And meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians. Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape, but then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry, and I think, I like who I am, and I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay, we're back here on Mvskoke Radio, here on the Brew in the beautiful downtown of Okmulgee, Oklahoma. Jared's been quite busy with this program, and you can catch it online with the Mvskoke Media, and his Livewire show has a wide variety of discussion topics. So we have another one here called Keepers of the Land, and we want to thank him so much for it.
Your questions from the chat. On tonight's program, we're going to be talking about Keepers of the Land, which is an art exhibit that's going to be part of the Sovereign Santa Fe Art Expo organized by Fahrenheit Fine Art. And the curator of that exhibit is Carly Treese. She is a Mvskoke artist and curator. You might remember her from in April of this year. We published a video on an art exhibition that was done in downtown Tulsa in collaboration with TU, and she was a co-curator of that. That was called Work of Sovereignty. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Mrs. Treese.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess to start off with, could you talk a little bit about what is Keepers of the Land and the Santa Fe, Sovereign Santa Fe Art Expo, kind of like if somebody doesn't know anything about it at all?
So the Sovereign Santa Fe Art Expo is a large contemporary Native American art. It coincides with the Santa Fe Indian Market. Mm-hmm. And usually it's just the Sovereign exhibit, but this year there's 4 different exhibits inside of it, and Keepers of the Land is one of them.
So with this exhibit, this is at the La Fonda on the Plaza in the Lumpkins Ballroom. Are
Yes.
you familiar with that area? What's that going to kind of like? What is that area like for people who haven't ever been there?
So it's pretty busy because it's right inside of the market and everything. So it's really beautiful. You might have to walk a little ways if you haven't been. That hotel is just amazing, and the Sovereign exhibit and all of those artists are so talented. It is some of the most amazing art you'll ever see.
And if you're watching this and you want to get more information, or maybe you want to, is there tickets on this? Would people need to buy tickets? Or is
Nope,
it just open to the
it's free. And 2 of the exhibits are from Oklahoma. So
okay.
The other 2 are New Mexico, I believe.
Okay. Well, there's a link in the description of this video to the event page for that, and also a Facebook page for it if you guys want to check that out. So, Keepers of the Land, what's the theme with that? Is there a theme, or how are the pieces connected there?
Well, so I have it pulled up and I can read the description.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Keepers of the Land is a collaborative exhibit featuring contemporary Native American artists from Oklahoma. This exhibit explores the rich and deep-rooted connection between Indigenous people and the lands we live upon. As the original inhabitants and caretakers of these lands, the artists offer their unique interpretations of what it means to be a keeper of the land. This exhibit incorporates the spiritual, physical, and emotional connection between the land between past, present, and future generations. Through a diverse range of mediums, the exhibit explores themes of Indigenous preservation and conservation, celebrating the ancestral heritage and responsibility that comes with being a keeper of the land. This exhibit highlights the profound relationship between the land and Indigenous people and invites viewers to join in the shared responsibility of preserving our world for the benefit of all. Keepers of the Land encompasses the beauty and power of Indigenous art and culture as we celebrate our connection to the earth and with each other.
Okay, awesome. And I want to remind you guys, if you have any questions, just pop them into the chat. So, do you want to name drop any artists that are going to be in this exhibit? You know, like, I don't know if you can you do that or?
I can, yeah. I have a page up if you want to follow my page. It's Keepers of the Land Exhibit, and that has all the artists, has examples of their work. It's on Instagram and Facebook. And then also my Instagram and Facebook is Tulsi Studios, the Mvskoke spelling, TVLSE Studios. And I have information that I'll update on there as well. But so Shane Brown, who is one of the, he's the still photographer for Reservation Dogs.
Oh, wow.
He's going to have work in it. I'll have work in it. Some of the artists from the Work of Sovereignty, Haley Gallegos, she'll have work in it. Dan Rocky, who is another Mvskoke artist. Brittany Postoke, who is another Mvskoke artist. Chris and Jeremy Thompson and Walela Knight. Chris and Jeremy do the shoes that you've seen, like the Reservation Dog shoes and just the different cool shoes that you've seen. And then Walela beaded some of the shoes. So Jesse Haas, Lisa Rutherford, Sam Regan, Jamie Meisenheimer, Dean Wyatt, and I think that's it.
And if you guys are watching this and you want to see some images of some of these works, the Facebook link that's in the description of this video has a link to a slideshow that has some of this stuff in there. And are some of these pieces, are they going to be carryovers from Work of Sovereignty? Is that what you were saying?
A few of the pieces, yes.
Okay. So if you want to check that video that we have on our YouTube channel for Work of Sovereignty, you can get a look at some of those other pieces too. So I guess my next question would be, we should mention, if you guys are in the Santa Fe area and you want to catch this show, it's Friday, August 18th through Sunday, the 20th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day. So you guys can swing down there, go to La Fonda on the Plaza in the Lumpkins Ballroom and check out this show. So what was it like? I know we talked when you did Work of Sovereignty about how that happened and how it got organized. How did this happen for you? Was this something where you were the major weight carrier and you had to do everything, or is it like you jumped in? What was that process like for you?
So I have organized everything. I am transporting all of the artwork. I went to the artists and asked them to be a part of it. So I've done everything for that part, for the Keepers of the Land part, to be in the Sovereign show.
Were you approached by the Santa Fe Sovereign Santa Fe Art Expo, or did you go to them and say, hey, I can do this show?
They asked me if I wanted to curate a show within the show.
Awesome. So what's in the future for you? Do you have another exhibition coming up, or are you like in the planning stages? Are you just taking a break?
So I'll have another exhibition in October at Positive Spaces in Tulsa, and it is a gallery for women. So the exhibit will be all BIPOC women and Two-Spirit artists.
Cool.
And then I'll also be at Cherokee Art Market with the Southeastern Indian Arts Association. And so that's the only things that I have this year.
If there's an artist that's watching this and they want to get involved in one of these exhibitions or a future exhibition with you, how could they do that?
Reach out to me on Facebook. You can email me. I have a website. It's tulsistudios.com. There's a contact form on there. I think my email is on there. Reach out to me and let's talk. I would love to meet other artists.
Awesome. So for this upcoming show in October, are you going to be prepared? Are you going to be showing in that show?
I will have one or two pieces.
Okay. Are they going to be? Are you something that you're going to make for that show, or is it going to be something that you already have?
Something that I've made, something that I'm making.
Oh, okay, awesome. So is it, nobody will have seen it before this show, right?
Right. Yeah, it'll be brand new.
Okay. And is that something where people will need to get a ticket, or is it an open gallery?
It'll be an open gallery. And the first night, we will also have a fashion show with Burning Wagon Designs. They're an Osage woman-owned design company here in Osage Nation. And then we will also have a film about one of Choctaw Nation's missing and murdered women, Emily Morgan. And so it's going to kind of tell her story.
Well, that's very interesting. Do you know how long that film is going to be? Is it a short film or?
It'll be a short film.
Okay. Well, that's great. I'm so happy to see that you're, continuing on and doing more exhibitions, and it seems like they're getting bigger and bigger as you go along. What would you say to somebody out there who's maybe an artist and they don't know where to start with exhibiting their work? If they're a native artist, how could they get their feet wet or just jump off and go? Because I know that's a problem for a lot of natives. They're like, they do art on their own, but then they don't know how to get started with an exhibition or who to approach or how to do any of those things. What would you suggest to them?
So I would suggest reaching out and starting with like group shows and putting 1 to 2 pieces and meeting people in the group shows, maybe joining an art organization. I'm in the Southeastern Indian Arts, and they're really good. They put out information about exhibitions coming up that you can be a part of. It's a really great group of people to meet. And just going to those also and talking to the artists, going into group exhibitions.
As somebody who is organizing and curating exhibitions that focus on native art and native topics, what do you think are the I want to say like the hot button or the very important topics that you're seeing a lot of artists do base their work around?
So a lot of my work is on land sovereignty. So a lot of you'll see abstract landscapes, and they're native landscapes, and they have themes about the connection to the land. And then I see a lot of others that do a lot of ancient symbols that mean things to the tribes. They'll take just different meanings, even if it's abstract art, and incorporate that into the meaning of their piece. I think like that. The other exhibit that's going to be up at Sovereign is Collective Wisdom, and that is like a multimedia with several artists that work on one piece together. And a lot of those artists use like the Southeastern symbols, because I think it's a lot of Southeastern artists. So I see a lot of the symbols and things like that.
I see. So what do you think the future of these exhibitions? You have some stuff coming up in the fall like we talked about. Do you have any further flung plans for like next year or anything? Or do you have any hopes or dreams for next year?
I have hopes and dreams for next year. I'm not quite sure what they are just yet, but I think maybe after this busy season, I will figure those out a little bit more.
Have you spoken to anybody at the Creek Nation, at the gallery spaces that they have, like the Red Stick Gallery and other stuff, about having an exhibition?
I have not, but I would love to. And I have to make a trip to Okmulgee this week, so I might stop in and talk to someone.
Absolutely. And if you want to swing by Mvskoke Media Studios, I can try to point you in the direction to somebody at the Nation that you could talk to about maybe organizing one of those. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love that.
I don't see any questions popping up in the chat. If you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and post them in there. Is there anything about this exhibit that we haven't talked about that you think is important to mention?
Nothing. I mean, there's 13 artists and we're from 5 different tribes. I think that's notable.
Are they all Southeastern tribes, or is it spread out all over?
It's a little bit spread out. I think most of them are southeastern tribes, and then there's some Osage as well, and Comanche.
I wanted to ask you another question too, because we normally have a commenter that comes into our chat and he asks this question a lot from different people. But what's your opinion about state recognized tribes or people, like the state of the regulations right now as far as people who don't have citizenship, but they have maybe citizenship in one of these state recognized tribes? Does there need to be more protections for that, or is it working the way that it should? Just from your perspective as a curator.
So that is a tough question.
Sorry about that.
There's a lot of layers that go into that.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that's even discussed? Like when these types of things are set up at the Santa Fe Sovereign Santa Fe Art Expo, are they telling people, like you need to present your membership card or your citizenship card or something like that, or is it just is it something that's taken for granted?
Not that I know of. I know all of the artists in my exhibit have federally recognized citizenship cards. Mm-hmm. And I know that there are some exhibits, like in some places, that allow state recognized tribes. That is a tough topic because there's just so much that goes into it. Mm-hmm. I feel more comfortable with federally recognized citizens, I guess, because some of the state recognized tribes are false tribes. Mm-hmm. They're not actually indigenous people, but they have formed. I think they form like 501c3s and, mm-hmm. and become a tribe or something. Yes. So that's above my pay grade. To comment on that.
Well, as a native artist, do you think that's something that should be regulated as far as like when you go in and you're having an exhibit and your work is showing in the exhibit and it's a native exhibit and the theme is all about indigenous themes and indigenous experience, and you have somebody that doesn't have that federal recognition, do you feel like they're unfairly trying to get in there to compete there, or is it something where it's like I'm not really going to make a determination on what somebody else does?
Sometimes I think it's unfair, but then sometimes we have people that truly aren't recognized, like our Friedman. So it's a topic with a lot of different layers. Mm-hmm. And you have to take that into account whenever you're dealing with people, I guess, and look at each individual. If it's like one of these 501c3 tribes, I think that's problematic. Mm-hmm. But, there are people that are our relatives that came over here with us on the trail, and they're not recognized. And so those are things that you also have to take into account.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sorry for that. That's a little bit of a heavy question at the back end of the interview. But that is something that we normally have a commenter, T.Y. Pearl. He'll come into our chat and he'll ask everybody about that. Do you think those regulations need to be updated? Are they okay? And so on and so forth. So
that's a tough question. It
is. It's a difficult situation too, because as an artist, like you, a lot of times feel like I'm just producing my work and I'm exhibiting it, and I don't want to go out and have to police what the other artists are doing or who they are or whatever. Like you can look at their work and you can look at my work and everybody's happy, right? But there are federal regulations on this stuff is the other turn of the key, and that's one of the things that I've always been fascinated with about that topic is, is that checked or anything? Because I've never seen, like some situations it is, like if you have a designated Indian art market that's going to be like a closed door affair where you go in and you have to have a card, you have to present that to the exhibitors and say, to even get a booth there, but it's predominantly like for selling under that Indian art moniker, right?
So I know that's how Cherokee Art Market is, and Muskogee Art Market, and a lot of the art markets. But I know that there's some places that don't require that. And like the Southeastern Indian Arts Association that I'm a part of, I think that they allow anyone to join, but for specific things, you have to present your citizenship card and be a citizen of a federally recognized tribe. So that there's just a lot of layers that go into that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a great interview. Is there any information we talked about when this is going to happen and where it's going to happen and what it comprises of? Is there anything else that you want to squeeze in before we wrap?
If you want to help support, go to my website, and I've got plenty of merch on there.
What is your website? Because I don't have a link to that, but I could stick it in the description after the fact.
So it's tulsistudios.com, and that's the Muskogee spelling, TVLSE.
Okay. And are you still based out of Tulsa? Is that your stomping grounds there?
Yeah.
All right.
I was born and raised, and
do you want to shout out anybody that you're related to, any community members you want to say hi to before we get out of here?
Hi, Mom. Hi to my brothers and sisters, cousins, friends, everyone.
We actually had a question pop up here. Here's the question. Let me see. I'm curious about Two-Spirit display in the exhibit. Were there any traditional Two-Spirit roles in the Mvskoke tribe, and do you think there may ever be artwork/display in such an exhibit?
I think there will be artwork and display. From my knowledge and what I've asked, that there's not like a word for Two-Spirit in the Muskogee language. And so I don't know any specifics on that, but I know that I welcome all Two-Spirit artists, and you're welcome in my exhibits, and you're welcome wherever I am.
Awesome. And I'm going to echo that same sentiment. I myself am not personally familiar with if there is a word for Two-Spirit in Muskogee, or like what the cultural connotations is, other than I don't know, maybe the Medicine Twins or something. I know that's a theme in there, but I don't think that has anything to do with Two-Spirit. So that question came from TR4NTZ. I don't know how you pronounce that, so but that's how it's spelled. So, well, with that being said, we're at 21 minutes, so I think we covered all the bases. I want to thank you so much for being on the program, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future for your next exhibit. In fact, that exhibit you were talking about for the BIPOC ladies exhibit in Tulsa,
Yes.
Shoot me an email when the dates are set for that and everything, because I'd love to go and see if I could do a walkthrough on that exhibit and do a little story on that too for everybody.
Yeah, I would love that.
Awesome. Well, Mado for being on the program. Mado to you guys for watching the program.
Okay, once again, we want to thank Jared Moore for bailing us out and sharing that material with us. We are going to take another short pause, and then we do have some community announcements. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on The Brew.
Hear that? That's the sound of Hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Whoa.
Thought we would add a little background music there to our normally kind of dry announcements. Okay, well, while we're listening to Stomp Dance songs, there is a Stomp Dance can making workshop coming up. And let's see, starting Monday, August 28th through Friday, September 1st at the Okmulgee Indian Community Center here in Okmulgee. And that will be running from 5 until 9, so that's quite an intensive session. The craftsman will be Billy Jack Wilson, and they're saying culture is prevention, an activity to raise awareness of the importance of culture for substance abuse prevention and a healthy mindset. So if you're interested, you can sign up by contacting Lisa Bear. That's lbear@cmn.edu. Excuse me there. All supplies will be provided. It's a 5-day workshop open to the first 10 to 12 individuals to sign up. Once again, that starts Monday, August 28th through Friday, September 1st at the Okmulgee Indian Community Center from 5 until 9. And that is a long session, so refreshments will be provided by the Okmulgee Indian Center. If you're under 18, you must be 12 or older to sign up and have an accompanying adult, no exceptions. Once again, for any questions, contact Lisa Bear at 918-549-2821 or lbear@cmn.edu. Okay. Now, we have Labor Day coming up, and a chance for some Indian tacos on the Labor Day on the 4th of September from 11 till 1 at the Wilson Indian Community. It's Yardika Indian Community at 9th and Main in Henrietta. That's a Brownstone Labor Day Indian taco sale. Nice way to spend the day and get some great food. $10 will get you the basic taco, drink, and a dessert. And that's from 11 till 1 at the Wilson Indian Community, Yardika Indian Community in Henrietta. Okay. The Mvskoke Tribal Child and Youth Coalition will have an Estagy feast September 13th from 5 to 8. That's for Mvskoke Creek citizens who are first-time pregnant or a parent of an infant, and the infant must be 12 months or younger. This session is limited to the first 75 registrants. So you must provide proof of Mvskoke citizenship, mother or father, proof of pregnancy, doctor's note, health record, WIC folder, or proof of infant's date of birth. That's a health record or birth certificate. Now the deadline to register is September 1st, and you can send your documents to Youth Services at mvskokenation.com. or drop them off at 2710 North Miami Avenue in Okmulgee. You can contact them at 918-549-2557. That's the Estagy Fest, September 13th from 5 till 8. Okay. We have the 17th annual, Diabetes Awareness Summit coming up on September 14th from 8:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Glenpool Conference Center. That's at 12205 South Yukon Avenue in Glenpool. That's the big conference center up there behind the Walmart. A couple of wonderful motivational speakers and endocrinologists will be heading up the program. So it will be providing free health screenings, physical activity breakouts, a healthy meal preparation, health exhibitors, and so much more, they say. Although the event is primarily for MCN citizens, their spouses, and significant support persons, American Indians living within the Mvskoke Nation Reserve are also welcome. Let's see here. Complications can be prevented, and so these well-known experts will be sharing their expertise. For more information, contact Dwayne Meadows at 752-7949 or Cheryl Aguilar at 918-758-6910. Okay. The 8th annual Mvskoke Spelling Bee competition will be coming up Saturday, September 16th from 10 to 3 at the Eufaula Community Center in Eufaula. That's 121 West High Street in Eufaula. Sponsored by the Eufaula Canadian Tribal Town, Mvskoke Adolwa. Lunch will be provided, and for more information, study guides, or a copy of the rules, contact 918-732-7725 or 918-689-6172. So if you're interested in sharing a discussion topic here on Mvskoke Radio, get a hold of me, Gary Fife, at Mvskoke Media. That's 918-732-7643. And please, if you are interested in making that sort of commitment, I got to have you here and count on you on showing up to do the show. Because filling these holes can get kind of creative and crazy sometimes. Well, while we're being creative here with this, let's just listen to stomp music. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mvskoke.